Hi there, this is Chris from Moose Driving, a driving instructor who has taught Laura on a semi-intensive course, which started at the end of November 2023, and she passed her test here at Colwick on the 27th of December, so less than 1 month of driving. It was still the same course as anybody else with Moose Driving would take. It was around 40 hours in total, but it was condensed down to 1 month of driving. It was a lot of work in 1 month, but we needed to get it done for certain reasons, and she did a cracking job. This is her driving test. It was a very, very wet and windy day. It'd been raining all night and all morning as well. Coming out of the driving test centre here, we're heading towards the end of the road where we're turning left, as we always do when we head out the driving test centre. It's the only way you can go. Laura was able to demonstrate great skill throughout, including great big puddles at the end here. And it's important in this weather to adjust your driving. That doesn't matter if it's a driving test or not. If you've got great big puddles, maybe move away, which is what Laura's done here. Move a little bit away from those puddles to make sure that you are safe, because you don't know what's underneath it. You can see water splashing up. But she's doing a great job of handling the road so far. Heading towards the first roundabout, and the sat-nav is what she's following at this moment, and she's been told to go left first exit. She makes a mistake here. She accidentally gets the wrong pedal in the nerves, and she's late on that brake pedal. But she gets it. She gets it fine. She stops before the white line. She pulls herself together. We've got a great technique called tick-tick at Moose Driving. It's quite a deep and complicated technique, but it works so well for moving on from mistakes and moving on from things. And she said to me that this tick-tick technique was one of the greatest things that she learned on this driving, and it just rescued her straight away at the first roundabout. It's a great method to stay focused, to move on, think about things that are important. So the traffic lights were turning right. As mentioned, she's following the sat-nav here. Nice gentle pull up to the lights. They change just as she gets there. Quick check of the mirrors into the centre here. She can see it's nice and clear past, so there's no point stopping. Gets on with it and straight over to the left-hand lane, the default lane. Checks the mirrors as she slows down, so she knows what's around her already in case the lights change, and they do. Checking the right hand mirror because the traffic is coming past and the road is getting narrower. Keeping a great distance to the car ahead. What distance should we keep to the car ahead in this sort of weather? It's been raining all night, the road is wet, it's raining at the moment. What does highway code say? What distance should you be? Answer in the comments below. And then the sat-nav is telling her to be in the left-hand lane for going ahead. Now at Moose Driving we have dash cams on the outside of the car facing forwards and back. We've also got two inside the car which record from behind the driver, so we can see the hands, we can see what was on the dashboard and all things like that. And there's also one in front of the driver to be able to see where their eyes are looking and other things like that. Unfortunately, we can't show those internal cameras when there's a driving test. We can only have the external cameras. So you're not seeing anything inside. When I say she's checking the mirrors, I know she was checking the mirrors. So ahead at this junction, again, checking the mirrors. Whenever we pull away, you need to know if there's any bikes coming past. You also need to know what the traffic is like next to you. Is that traffic going to try and pull in front of you? seeing the road is narrowing, checking the right hand mirrors and knowing what's there. Up to speed now, 40-mile-an-hour road, and it's looking relatively clear enough to do about 40, as long as we can also keep a good distance to the car ahead. And the sat-nav is asking her to turn left and then turn right. And actually she's taking a route which isn't going to take her into that left lane. And early on in the driving test, sometimes the examiner will just help you out a little bit. She's going to see that the student is not taking the left, and the examiner just reminds her, we're going left. There you can see them moved over from the prompt, but she checked the mirrors, indicator was on, everything was safe. The examiner wanted just to keep the student on course. And then is asked to pull up on the left, about a car length away from the grey car. Don't worry about drop curbs on this occasion. And this is going to be an angled start. It's to check that when you pull away from the curb, can you do it in a way that's not going to cut across the front of that car, that you're going to leave good room, and you're going to be a bit slower away perhaps if you allowed for that in the distance to any car that's coming from behind or ahead. That's a great pull away. And she should be taking the next road on the right. However, she missed it. She missed the road. She decided the sensible thing to do now is to go ahead, but she said out loud, I've missed it. So the examiner knew that she'd made a mistake. So the examiner says, don't worry, take the next road on the right. Try and follow the sat-nav where you can, because she has missed now 2 turnings. And you then have to deal with the new road, and this road is a much tighter, narrower road than the one that she was intending to go down. Well, if you go down a wrong road, it's not a fault on the driving test to go down a wrong road, as long as you're legally allowed to go down it, so it's not a no-entry road. But then you have to deal with what's there. And our student deals with it absolutely fine. So of course we don't see out to the sides here, but there's quite a bit of traffic in places. But nice and safely away. And at the traffic lights we're turning right. And now the sat-nav says the traffic lights turn right and then turn left, which is a bit odd, a little bit confusing. Examiner says nothing. You have got a screen in front of you after all for you to check what am I supposed to be doing here. And from the screen of the sat-nav you can clearly see it's a right turn, and that's the reason why the examiner doesn't say anything. Also, when you're stopped at red lights, an examiner will often strike up a little bit of a conversation asking, what would you normally do on a day like this? And just so you're not sat bored. But keep on top of checking your mirrors. Know what's around you. Nicely slowed down behind that car to get to no need to stop. Smoothly behind it we went. And then we're asked to pull up on the left when it's safe to. That's for the student to decide where is safe. High curb, not opposite another road, not anywhere it's going to obstruct anybody or be a problem to anybody. So we've got double yellow lines near that junction, but after there it's looking like it's good. And then drive on when you're ready. And at the traffic lights, we're turning left. Tyres and tarmac is what you should see. Be able to see the bottom of the tyres, the tarmac, and the top as well. That's relevant when you're behind a big vehicle, a lorry or a bus. So nice bit of distance there. Smoothly around the corner, leaving a nice distance to the car ahead in these conditions. Gives you a chance to see exactly what's happening on the road as far as puddles and pedestrians. It's relatively quiet because it's been such bad weather. I think a lot of people were not coming out. So it's relatively quiet on the roads. It doesn't make it easy though. You've still got obstacles and problems, cars inside roads. And the road we're on now is a typical road where it's a bit of a long and boring road. It'd be easy to switch off. It'd be easy to stop checking your mirrors. So the examiner's looking out for you, paying attention still. Regular checks around you, so you know what's behind you, know what's out to the right if you're going out to the right. Planning ahead and your position in the road that you can stay out here to the right because you're on your side of the road. There's no need to tuck back to the left every time you go past a car if there's the room in the road to do it, and there is. Also making sure you're going up to speed where you can. Then she's been asked to pull up on the left. And she was told where to pull up here, so she was told to pull up on the left before the speed camera. Don't worry about the road opposite. So if the examiner tells you somewhere specific to pull up, then it's fine to pull up. And the examiner wants you to know there's a road across there and check that road when you pull away. Not just check ahead and behind. Actually check there's nobody coming out of that road. And that's the reason for that specific point that they wanted that student to pull up in. Travelling up the hill now, there are signs for a school. So warning signs for a school and 20 miles an hour speed limit when lights are flashing. With any warning sign though, look for the evidence of the problem. There's no school children. There's no cars dropping off school children or picking them up. So no need to go much slower. It's quite a bumpy road up here though. So she hasn't achieved 30 miles an hour at this point, but that's fine with this weather and the bumpiness. Now we're getting up to 30 miles an hour. Now it's a bit straighter, a bit cleaner and clearer. Now, I haven't yet talked about faults on this driving test. And the reason for that, there are only 2 faults on this entire driving test. That's 2 minor faults as they used to be called, or driving faults. Nicely slowed down for those pedestrians. No need for us to stop. Off we go. Planning ahead like Laura's done here produces such a beautiful smooth drive. She could see the pedestrians at the zebra crossing. She slowed down, started to slow down immediately for them, timed how much to slow down to then keep some progress and keep momentum. It really produces such a great smooth drive. And then she's taken the next road on the left. It's looking like a slightly tight one. Then we see a car coming the other way, so we are nice and slow to keep it tightly on our side. Then it's clear, so off we go. So we're going to get to this junction first. Quick check left, it's nice and clear, and off we go. Give way lines. There was no one to give way to, so we didn't need to stop, so off we go. And then we're asked to pull up on the left. And then drive on when you're ready. Need to make sure we check that pedestrian on the right hand side. Make sure they're not going to cross over. And Laura's opted to wait for the cars coming the opposite way as well, which I think is a good call, because as soon as you move off here, you'd have to then stop again. And if you move off with an indicator, those cars might be confused you're going to come through. So wise choice to wait. Another giveaway line coming up. You can see the sign on the left hand side. Even if you can't see the lines on the ground, you've got the sign. Quick check left, looks clear, off we go. Another giveaway sign. Slow down, look to the right, looks clear, off we go. So again, no need to stop if it's clear and you can see well enough down that junction, as long as you're going slowly and as long as you're looking well to that side. On the camera, these hills never look as bad. This is quite a steep hill down here, so making sure we keep control of the speed of the car as we head down the hill. And then we're taking the next road on the left. Then considering priority down here, whose priority it is? Well, it's clearly ours at the moment. It's quite a wide road though, so we might have other cars wanting to get by. This car's doing a parallel park, but we can fit down, so we should. So we carried on through. The parallel parking car should stop for us because our side of the road was clear. Got a nice dominant position here, so through we go. Next road on the left, we've got a police van and an ambulance, so she takes it nice and slow. Examiner said nothing to her, it's for her to work this out. So a bit slow to make sure we keep on our side and to understand what's happening in case there's some emergency happening. Who knows what might be happening and what's around. It's none of our business and we don't really care, but we need to see people if there are people around. And then off we go again, speed back up. And at the bottom of the hill, we're going to turn right. It's quite a tight corner. Can't see on the camera, but there's a car coming from the right hand side that we just need to wait for. We're then going to commit to going between these vehicles, so needed to make sure it was definitely clear. Looking out for spaces to pull in if we need to, and looking where they can pull in if they need to. And then we're taking the next road on the right. And then Laura's asked to follow the road around to the right, which is going to lead us into a car park. And when you're in that car park, I'd like to park forwards into any bay. So it's Laura's choice. You've got an open choice here. There's a huge number of car parking spaces to choose from. And Laura just clarifies, any space, does it have to be on the left here? And the examiner replies, it can be one of the spaces on the left, or you can turn into one of the roads on the right and then park. It's up to you, whichever one, as long as it's forwards into any bay. So good mirror checks all around, out to the right hand side, nice and slow. edging forward into the bay. And she's in. She puts it into park and just says, I want to check. So she starts to have a look and a check, and the examiner's happy by this point that she's absolutely fine in it. And the examiner even said, open the door and have a look if you want. Now, don't open that door unless the examiner tells you to. Okay. Forward Bay Park was the one that Laura was probably dreading. It's what she felt was her worst. You lose sight of those white lines in front of you. You're not quite sure where the bay is. She did a fine job with it. So then she's after a reverse out of the bay, so reversing to the left to drive off to the right. Nice and slow as we go back, looking all around. Just because it seems like a quiet car park doesn't mean it will be. You can see there's a gap in the fence up there. Anyone could come through that gap. There's gaps in the fence elsewhere. There's lights on cars. So anyone could be moving anywhere, anytime. And then off we go. And it's fine that she went into the bays a bit. That's not a problem. It was nice and safe. There was nobody there. We don't have to pretend there is. And then following the car park out. At the end of the road, turning right. Nice and slow for that pedestrian who's now in a safe place. Sensible decision to wait for the bus. And then got on with it afterwards. It's clear behind the car, so off she went. So now her speed is dictated by the vehicles ahead, but she can leave the gap that she chooses. Nice gap in these conditions. You know what's happening ahead of you. That car looks like it wants to get by that bus, desperate to get by. So let's leave it. Leave it to do what it wants to do. They're travelling really close to the bus, and all they're doing is following it through blindly. They don't know what's coming. We do. We can see. We can see it's clear. Dipping back to the left for safety, we can see there's another car coming now. But that car is waiting for the bus and for this car. So let's take the opportunity and go. And we're ready to stop, but that car isn't moving, so let's go. Really nicely thought out there. And at the end of the road, we're turning right, so we'll be following the bus. And we're now getting towards the end of the sat-nav. Sat-nav drive, which is the independent drive. So the examiner tells her that in a moment you'll get to the end of the sat-nav drive and follow my instructions from there. So now you're following the examiner's instructions just like you would have done with your driving instructor. And up ahead we've got an ambulance who seems to want to turn. So the examiner just prompts Laura to slow down and pull over to let the ambulance do what it needs to do. So if there's something particularly weird in the road, the examiner can just tell you what to do. If there's an emergency, they can help you out a little bit. You still need to know where to pull over to and what to do. And then Laura's back to working it out for herself now. Ambulance puts on reversing lights. So She stays still, but now there's room to go. An indicator to let the ambulance driver know that she's going by, and off she goes. Tick tick. Up to speed between the bumps. Check the mirrors, brake for the bump. Check a right mirror, make sure you know if there's anyone overtaking, and up to speed again. Quite busy with parked cars, but lots of good mirror checks, so we know exactly who's around. Badly parked car on the left, but that's no trouble. Right mirror check, clear to go by. Ahead at the mini roundabout. Need to give way from the right hand side. We've got a blocker there. If there is anybody on the right, there's no trouble. And then ahead at the traffic lights. You know, I've not counted how many times Laura's needed to stop. The only time she's needed to stop have been times like now at traffic lights or at the end of the road where it's busy. Every time she's met traffic, she's managed to smoothly move the car along. Even there, she paused a moment behind the bus and then realised there's enough room, I can get by. Great, good assessment. That's what we want. It's okay to think, no, I can't, and then change it to yes, I can. It's okay to think, yes, I can, and then decide, no, I can't, and slow it down. Checking the zebra crossings nice and clear. Thinking about priority. Think, what if a car came the other way? But what if a car came the other way now? Well, that car parked is all the way on the pavement. It's fine. Plenty of room for two. Lots of markings on the ground for keep clear at every junction. We're heading down to an area where there is a railway crossing. There's often lots of cars stopped all the way back up here. Not today, it's fine, it's fine. But Laura was ready, just in case. So heading down into Netherfield town centre now. So we're the 27th of December on this driving test, and it's relatively quiet down here. Makes a big change. There's often a lot of cars parked on the left hand side. You need to take great care checking those zebra crossings to make sure they're clear. But that one quite clearly was. This next one, yeah, we can see that's clear. Going the way the road will take you, which is to the right. Zebra crossing clear, yes it is. So our approach every time we get to a zebra crossing is we are stopping unless we can prove it's clear. If we can't prove it, we can't see one side very well, then we're stopping. So now we've got this van to deal with. There's another ambulance. So it's a transport ambulance which wants to go out. It's trying to go out. We've given it plenty of room. Needed other cars to also give it some room. And then off we go. Tick, tick. Nice bit of speed now, it's nice and clear. We'll be going round the bend to the left where we lose a bit of visibility and we have to be out past that red car a little bit, so brought the speed down nicely. Now it's nice and clear. Up we go again. So at the traffic lights we're going ahead nicely in the left hand lane, checking the mirrors as we get there just to know what's around, because they can change at any moment and off we go. And when we get to the end of the road we'll be turning left. So just 2 driving faults on this driving test, and they were both about the pull-ups on the left, about being too close to the curb. There was the one time before the speed camera where it was a drop curb and she was just on the drop curb, just on there. Being a drop curb, you couldn't feel it. The examiner knew it because she had a look out of her window. And there was one other occasion as well. Hard pressed to see them on this video, exactly where they were. That was the only problems. The examiner said it was such a smooth drive, so smooth. At this roundabout here, going right, third exit of course, nicely slowed down. Off we go. That's good vision into a roundabout. Come up to a roundabout, you're ready to stop unless you can prove it's clear, a bit like the zebra crossings. Well, she could prove it was clear. So she slowed down enough to know where that last vehicle was going, and then off she goes. The examiner was really impressed because she commented about whether this was her first driving test, because she thought maybe she'd be driving for a lot longer. Nice and confident past the cyclists here, lovely wide road, no one coming the other way, give the cyclist lots of room, check the left mirror, and over you go. And of course we're taking the next road on the right, just past the big trees. And it's easy at this point to think, well, I'm almost back at the test centre now, I'm almost home. Keep concentration. And she's been told now that when we get into the car park, I want you to drive forwards into any bay. Still need to take care here as you turn in, see if there's any cars coming out. You need to give way to anybody coming the opposite way. There's a sign that tells you here that you do not have priority. But there's nobody else coming the other way, so nicely into the middle there. And then the examiner says, actually, just pull up forwards towards that window. Just straight up towards the window rather than into a bay. And that's the driving test almost finished. As soon as you've stopped and switched off the engine, then it's finished. Laura did a tremendous job throughout the whole of December 2023. 1 month to pass her driving test. What an amazing job. Well done. It's been a pleasure to teach you, Laura. You have worked hard. You've made mistakes. You've understood those mistakes. We've re-explored them again. You put them right. You move on. Tick, tick. It's been wonderful, and I'm so glad I'll be seeing you again for motorway lessons very shortly. And thank you everyone for watching and listening.